Hello, my name is Irvin, also known as Kobuman. Welcome to Help Desk training video. This is number 18 in the series. Today's series we're going to touch on Registry Editor, we're going to touch on printers, and we're going to touch on many other things that may come across in Help Desk. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments below if you do so. Thank you so much, and let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Irvin, also known as Kobuman. Welcome to Working Help Desk Tickets series. We're going to continue with basically following up first. That's the first thing we do. We're going to work tickets that we worked in the previous sessions, and it's very important to follow up before we close any tickets. So tickets that are assigned to us, we're going to have to follow up before we close them. Alright, but before we do that, please take a moment in the comments to say hi, hello, or present, just to let me know that people are still interested in watching these type of videos. I've noticed in the last video, which was number 17, I believe, there really wasn't that much interest, which is fine. I just need to know whether people are still interested. That's why I keep asking people to leave a comment. Alright, thank you so much for doing that. Alright, let's follow up. And this one here was about Windows Update being stuck at 66%. Again, this was from the previous video if you want to see what the details are about. And we provided some troubleshooting steps to see if we'll resolve the issue. And again, in this case scenario, we couldn't get a direct access to the computer itself to try to fix it, but I did provide steps that this person can take to troubleshoot this issue. Alright, and it doesn't look like we have any response, and for those reasons we're just going to close the ticket. Again, there are details in the previous video of what you can do to resolve Windows updates being stuck. Okay? Normally you don't want to close any tickets unless you follow up and confirm. When it comes to Help Desk, before you close any ticket, make sure that the issue is resolved. I'm just closing them because we have a lot of tickets in the system and I need to get them going. It's a different situation, right? This is making a video on how to do these things. All right, first thing we see here is computer registry. We're going to talk about computer registry. How do I delete, and this is from Onyango, thank you very much for submitting another ticket. How do I delete, remove software installed from the registry? As always, when you pick up tickets, make sure they are assigned to you before you start working them. So this question here is about deleting and removing software installed from the registry. Every time you install a program, software of any sort, it creates a registry entry. So what is registry entry? We're going to talk about that. Let me just pull up Registry Editor here. So if you go to search and type in reg edit, it's going to come up with the Registry Editor. If you want to make changes to it, you have to run it as administrator. So you need administrator privileges, administrator login to make changes. Okay, so here's our Registry Editor. I'm going to start from basic. I'm going to make it easy to understand for anybody, to anybody who wants to know what the Registry Editor is and what Registry does. It's going to be very simple to follow. Okay, so the question was, how do I remove software from the Registry Editor? And what this person actually means is, how do I remove registry entries? And what is registry? Registry is every time you install a program. Let's say when we installed Chrome here, right? Chrome is right, this icon here. Once you install Chrome, it installs a registry entry into the registry, which basically is a configuration for your software, in this case for Google Chrome. So when we installed Google Chrome, it installed or inserted or created a registry entry, which is basically a configuration. It's a configuration for your software for Google Chrome. So how do we find it? Well, when we installed Google Chrome, right, we have to go download it, and then we have to install it to our machine, which is our local machine, meaning your computer, right? Locally you're doing it, and this is what happens, right? You download Chrome installer, you install Chrome, and then once you do that, it has to enter registration for it. It has to tell the Windows operating system what the settings are for Google Chrome. It uses these settings for Chrome functions. Okay, so again, you install Google Chrome on your local machine. So how do we find this inside of Registry Editor? Well, you've guessed it. It's under local machine, where it says H key local machine, right? So we're going to expand this and we're going to look for Chrome. Once I click expand, we're going to look for Chrome. So what is Chrome? What did we install? Chrome is software, right? It's software. So here we go. Here's software option right here, software folder, if you will, with the registration settings. We're going to expand that. And now we're going to look for Google Chrome. Sure enough, here it is. The very first thing, once we expanded software, here is Google, right? And when you select Google, it's just a folder where Google information will be, configuration will be. But so you can simply right click here and delete it, right? If you're no longer using Google Chrome, you can right click and delete. And that's how you do it. But let's kind of expand on this more. Literally, let's expand Google folder. And here it is. It specifies that now we have Chrome installed. Why? Because Google has multiple products. If you were to, for example, install desktop Google Drive, you know how you have your Drive, Google Drive for storage stuff? You can actually install a desktop version of that. So any Google product will be listed under Google folder. In this case, we have product name Chrome, and here it is. It's installed. And yet, we still don't see anything over here. Well, we still have to expand it because Chrome has multiple configuration. So if you expand this, here is part of it. Again, native messaging, and then expand it more, and here is more information. Okay. However, this is just one part of it, and this is a 64-bit part of Google configuration specifically for Chrome here that we looked at. So let's bring this back and go back to this, because there's more. There's another place where majority of actual configuration will be, and that would be under and that will be under the 32-bit registry information. We're going to find that. So it's going to be the same deal, and it's going to be almost in the same spot, but I want you to know that there is a difference and that you can differentiate this between 64-bit and 32-bit. Now, what the difference is, well, it's just basically where Google Chrome chooses to install its configuration. Sometimes you'll have folders in both locations, sometimes only in one location. However, typical location is 32-bit, which is what I'm going to show you. So again, local machine, that's where we installed Google Chrome. We're going to expand that, and we know it's software. We're going to expand that, and we're going to scroll down and not look for Google because we already found it. What you see here is 64-bit subsystem of it. Here is the 32-bit subsystem of it, and which is right here. Wow, 6432 node. 6432 node. So it goes from 64 to 32-bit, and it's a node configuration. So we're going to expand that, and inside of this, so again, we're under software, wow, 6432 node. This is where majority of stuff and most likely the main actual configuration of the program, and I'll show you, is. So we're going to expand this, and we're going to scroll down, and we're going to look for Google folder, and here it is, Google folder. So same like we did previously, we're going to expand it, and here's another part of it where it says update. And say once I click this, you suddenly see that there are actually way more actual configuration files that you see. So once I clicked on update folder, and when you look on the right, these are registry entries for this part of software, right? These are registry entries, meaning configuration for it. So you may find inside of Google a file that's maybe has configuration settings inside. These might be the exact same settings that you're looking at here that are from Registry Editor, and these are just different ways of editing these settings. And there you go. That's how you do it. If you want examples on how to edit registry, I have a video I'm going to make a pop-up where it explains to you how you can create registry entries and what kind of purpose you can do with them, or what you can use it for, what kind of things it does. But all in all, you don't want to delete any registry entries for things that are still being used. So if you are no longer using Google Chrome, you can go in and delete any Google folders in there. It's going to be perfectly fine. But if you try to delete other stuff, I wouldn't recommend it. And it's not even a big deal to leave any of those entries. In some rare, super rare, well, I've actually never seen it. I was going to say in some rare situation, maybe leaving a registry entry will cause a problem for some other programs, but I haven't seen that in I don't even know how many years of IT support. So I wouldn't worry about it. But again, check out the video that I've made on how you can even remotely use Registry Editor to configure computers and software remotely, where you don't have to be there at all. You just over the network, you configure a registry entry, that will fix problems, especially if it's a configuration issues. So I'm going to say right in the reply here, you can search. Matter of fact, you can do a search, and I will show you that in my video that I link up here. Very important to watch it if you want to know more about registry. You can search reg edit to delete any unwanted registry entries, but be careful not to delete anything that your OS operating system might be using. Old / unused software you can delete. So right click anything that you find and just simply select delete. Okie dokie. I'm going to close this because it was just a question and not something that needs to be fixed. Unassigned. Problems PDF print from Lisa Marie Ward. Thank you very much, Lisa, for submitting this ticket. Much appreciated. All right, problems PDF printing. There's no description. It just says problems PDF, but there is a screenshot, which is great. It says there was an error creating your PDF, failed conversion. Please try again. Contact our support team if problem persists. Now, I don't have any information on what kind of program this is. However, I do know that people use these what they call PDF creators, and that will either convert or create new PDF files based off of documents that you're observing. Sometimes it's just used to save another PDF file. Sometimes it's used to create a PDF file, and sometimes it's used to simply convert, for example, a text document into a PDF. You save it as PDF, and for those situations, you would need specific software that does that. And I think one of them is like, I don't know, PDF Creator. So I think I've seen this somewhere used. Here's a PDF Creator. We're going to download the free version real quick. This is just for educational purposes. I just picked a random one. Doesn't mean you should be installing or using any of this stuff. I don't know who these are, who these people are, who created this software. I'm just kind of taking a chance here for educational purposes. So we're going to install a PDF Creator to show you what happens. Now, people call this printing. I want to print something, and that's fine. And the reason that happens is because whenever you go try to save something, typically you would select it as if it was a printer, but you would select the software that's used to create these PDF files. Okay, so there's a confusion here with users where they say, I can't print PDF, but what they're actually trying to do is convert or save it as a PDF, any files that they have open. So, and that happens, and it shows up. This, for example, this PDF creator, I don't know for sure, but what is this? Option off? No, I don't want this. See, they want you to install more crap on your computer. Be careful about this. And I've heard of PDF creator. I think there's another one that I heard of called Cute PDF or something like that. I don't know. There are tons of them out there. I feel this is probably going to have limitations, how many I can save or create. But when it comes down to it, you see how it shows like a printer. This is not users' fault that they started calling it printing PDFs. This is fault of people that are creating this software. So here it is. We're going to choose a file to convert. Here we're going to try this one. I don't know. New text. We're going to click anything, and where is it at? I don't know. I guess it didn't do it. But let me show you something. Maybe it doesn't like that. New bitmap image. Let's try this one. Here it is. Is it going to save it? Okay, so what usually happens is people go to print and they select print here, right? And then they select PDF creator in this case. You see that? And now it's going to save it as a PDF. So let's going to do this. Let's just do this here. We're going to say PDF. Let's just call it that. Question mark? Sure. Let's see if he'll do it, right? So this is what people usually go to print and select print. So instead of regular selecting their printer that's installed here, they'll select the PDF creator and select print. And now it's going to try to save it as as a PDF. It's going to save it in my document. So we're going to call it test PDF. Save. So it's going to convert it. Okay, I'm just going to close it. Oh, look, it's offering more crap. Never mind. Wow, I hate these free software. Sometimes is just so annoying. Matter of fact, we're going to delete it and we're going to see if there are any traces of it in registry. So we know it saved it into our documents, and here it is, test PDF. When I double click it, whatever, I'm just going to use Microsoft Edge to open this PDF file. Here it is. It worked. It's just that it's upside down, but it works. So you can convert documents into PDF. So problems with PDF printing, I don't know what the problem is. There was an error creating a PDF, failed the conversion. Maybe you select a file that's not supported, a document that's not supported. Maybe there's a limit of how big it is and this and that. And then it says, please try again. Contact our support if problem persists. I would definitely contact their support, and maybe if you want to submit another ticket with more information, I'll be glad to talk about it, but give me more details, which one it is and what happens, how does this happen, at what point, as much detail as possible, although I do appreciate this screenshot. So it doesn't tell me much though, except that it says it failed conversion. So to me, it could mean that it's just the wrong file or something wasn't done right. Or, as far as I know, reinstalling PDF creator, converter would fix this, right? Okay, before I close this, matter of fact, let's close it here. Okay, I'm going to say hello, and then we're going to remove this PDF creator that I installed. Hello, this is Irvin with PC support. I'm going to say you can try reinstalling PDF converter to see if issue is resolved. It could also, oh wow, could also be an issue with the document being converted. For example, document may not be supported. I would need more and detailed information about the program and the issue to help further. So I'm going to save it, but normally you would take control, take control of the user's computer. You would talk to them and ask them what they're doing, have them show you what they're doing, and then resolve the issue like that. You wouldn't just be closing tickets like I am. I'm only doing it because I have a lot of tickets and I'm going to move on, but never close tickets unless they're resolved. And this is just for educational purposes of what you might be doing to fix this. Okay, we're going to go to add remove programs. We're going to remove this. I hate, by the way, how this is sorted by name. I always like to sort things by install date. That way I know what the last thing was updated. And looks like last thing was Microsoft Edge, and I didn't even know. It happened in the background. So look at this. It installed two different things. This is why I don't like free software necessarily. Some of it is good, some of it is bad. But I wasn't even aware that it installed PDF Architect, and we're definitely, for those reasons, we're definitely going to do some registry deletion. And these are the dangers of uninstalling, or installing, I should say, of programs that you never heard of, that you just find randomly on the internet. Be very, very careful. Make sure it's approved. Make sure it's certified, and double check to see what they're installing. It's like, why would I need PDF Architect 8? I don't know what that is. If it's about creating, PDFs, look at this. Wow. They really make you jump through hoops, and I guarantee you it's going to leave some registry entries back there. So if you want to remove them, you can. It's just, the biggest problem with some of the free software is that it will give you tons of pop-ups. Okay, Registry Editor. Okay. Notice how everything stays expanded here in Registry Editor. It kind of remembers that. Okay, so here we are, H local machine software, and I can just do a search if I really wanted to, but it's okay. I like to visually find it, and it's fine, however you want to do it. I just want to see if it's there. So I forget what the name of that software, the company was. It could be any of these. Is it Kronos? No, it's not. Microsoft ODBC. Here it is. PDF Architect 8 and PDF Tools AG. Those are all the remnants of that. So I'm going to right click and delete. Don't care. It's gone. Look at this. PDF Tools AG. Gone. PDF Forge. See, look at this. There's more crap in here. PDF Forge. So we got to remember this. Gone. Okay. Let's see. Under WoW 64. Here it is. More crap. Okay. Architect. That's not it. That's for ODBC driver. Do not delete that. Okay. I think that's that. All right, cool. Let's do one more. I'm not going to make this video super long. It's going to be a little bit shorter. Scan to email, scan to folder. Okay, so here's an example of scan to email. So we're going to talk about printers again. Printers are very popular, very common thing that happens in help desk. I want to set up scan to email and scan to folder functionality for Konica Minolta and Kyocera, a printer for my organization. How do I do that? Thanks. And looks like, okay, it looks like we have another, just a note or a message that was sent. Okay, so he's basically saying, I would love to get a video for this on your channel. Yeah, sure thing, buddy. We're going to talk about this. So this is an example of something that we may not necessarily be familiar with. He's talking about a specific printer here. It's called Konica Minolta brand and Kyocera. Okay, which is fine. If you don't have any experience with this when it comes to specific brands, that's okay. You can always just use common knowledge or common tech knowledge when it comes to general troubleshooting and configuration of these type of things. So here it is, scan to email or scan to folder functionality. So what happens is, in this case, you would scan an email or scan a folder, and then you would send that information as an email to yourself or somebody else. So for those reasons, you just have to figure out what kind of steps you have to take when it comes to using these specific printers. So let's do this. We're going to go to Google, we're going to look for some information, and we're going to talk about it. Konica Minolta scan to email setup. So here it is, directly from Konica Minolta, which looks like a European company. We're going to look at this. So we're going to use some common knowledge here. Let's go back to it and what it says here. So if you've never set this something up like this, you're going to, it says here scan to email and scan to folder functionality, and he wants to set this up. And as a help desk tier 1, you're not going to be doing this type of stuff. Maybe as tier 2, maybe, but it's going to be more likely somebody at local tech support or somebody who has more access. But that's okay. We're going to talk about it because there are things we can learn here. So if I just scroll down, as you saw here, we can see that we can configure, it says here, configure basic settings for scan to email. And it's the very first thing that comes up. So here's a screenshot of it. I don't know how well you can see this here. It's kind of blurred to me on this screen, but I'm going to talk about it so that way we can learn something from this and to show that you can actually configure this, right, yourself. And here it is. It says here email TX SMTP settings, and here it says, email text TX settings. We're going to make sure that's checked, right? Because we want to use this function, and we're going to enable scan to email. We're going to send it to set it to on, which is very important. And here are things that are highlighted. So we're going to talk about this just briefly to understand what's going on here with this scan to email type of thing. So you scan something and you send it to email, right? Here it is. It talks about first thing here in this other square, and it says a rectangle, I should say. It says SMTP server address. So if you want to use your SMTP server, which is Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, just like when you configure your email in Outlook. Like if you have to go into the Outlook and manually configure these settings so that way you can receive and send email, we're going to have to configure this. So Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, we're going to have to specify what the address of that is, meaning the Exchange server. Exchange server is the email server. Every time you use your email, it's handled by the Exchange server. And we're going to just type in IP address here, right here where it says 000. We're going to change that to the location of the Exchange server. If you want to use a host name, meaning the name of the server. So instead of typing in IP address, we're going to do a check mark here, and then you type in the name of the server. We can call it, Exchange server, whatever it might be. Other important setting here is port number that is used. In this case, it's 25 for Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, right? And these two parts are very important because it's not going to work unless, because you want to send it to your email, you want it to be handled by the email server, then of course you have to specify these things. Here, another thing that's highlighted here, it says connection timeout, and then you specify how, timeout, like how long to wait until this is processed, right? And then we got max mail size, and you can put no limit, or you can specify maximum size of the server or the file that you're trying to scan and send over the Exchange. And you might want to limit this and put actual, where it says server capacity, and you put actual megabytes on there. You might want to change this to something that's not huge, because it will take forever to process these emails. For all of these big documents that you're trying to scan and then send it via email, it could take forever. So you might want to limit it to, I don't know, whatever is comfortable for your organization. If you see that the server is being overloaded, then you might want to specify a limit. If not, just leave it no limit. I mean, it's up to you. These are all things that you have to consider when setting up these things. And again, this is not a help desk tier 1 type of thing, but this is more like server admin, maybe tier 2, maybe. I doubt it. Maybe, I don't know. Depends on the organization. And then we got the connection timeout, which is how often you can process these. This is something that you have to specifically look for, just like I did, and get the information that you need and configure it properly. Now, just to keep going, I know he talked about Kyocera one as well. You do the same thing, and you just have to look at the manual and how it's done. And sorry, I tried to explain this as much as I can, but just take your time because it's very specific to these printers, and it's not necessarily something that help desk would be doing, but at least we've learned something. So I'm going to add a reply. I'm going to say, hello, this is Irvin with PC support. Please use printer manual to configure scan to email settings specific to that printer, meaning any of those that you're trying to set up. Meaning any of the print. Well, yeah, I'm going to leave that out. Okay. So hello, this is Irvin from with PC support. Please use printer manual to configure scan to email settings specific to that printer. These settings will be specific to your org, or meaning organization. Organization. Yes, I spelled it correctly. Haha. I.E SMTP settings and etc. Please watch video for more tips. All right. So we do what we can with the knowledge we have. That's the moral of the story. I'm going to close it because it's not, again, it's not a regular help desk ticket. This is just asking for advice. Thank you, Mohit, for asking this question. It was a great one. I wish you good luck with this. And I know this is not a necessarily answer that you wanted to hear, but maybe it is. Maybe it'll get you into the right direction. And you just have to make sure you take your time and, you do this properly to make sure that the configuration, because you got to have this information, like what is the Exchange server, like that's the first step you have, is gather information about your whole situation and how to configure it. What are things I need to configure? Then you got to get all this information in order to do it at all, to even think about doing it. But definitely follow the instructions, because every interface is going to look different. If I looked up the Kyocera one, it's going to look different from the other one that I looked up. So it's going to be a different interface, different, I don't want to say necessarily different settings, but maybe some of them would be different settings. MD Alam, we've seen a lot of tickets from Alam, and that's okay. Thank you very much for submitting. We're going to pick one here. We'll pick one. I said I was going to do one more, but let's do one more from Alam. I can't log in remotely into my office desktop, into my office desktop. So number one reason you can't remote into it, and here's just an example. Matter of fact, let's use Dameware here. Do I have Dameware installed? I should have Dameware installed. Here it is, Dameware. So I'm going to assume that you are an IT guy, and I think you are. I can't log into my office desktop remotely, right? Number one reason for not able to remote into desktop remotely is that desktop is offline. Remote desktop. That remote desktop is offline. Right? It's offline. It's turned off. It's not on the network. All right? So in this case, we're using Dameware, and we can just type in the computer name. And if it's just called the remote desktop, that's great. If it's not, then do whatever it is, whatever the name is of your remote desktop. You can also use an IP address. So here's an example of a computer that I have on the network. It's called Kobuman. We're going to open up command line. And the reason you might want to try an IP address is that if a DNS server is not working properly, sometimes your DNS will not be translating these addresses to IP addresses, or not forwarding these host names to proper locations of the network, which would be the IP address. Okay, so we're going to ping Kobuman. And here's the IP address for Kobuman here, right here. This is IP version 6. Preferably, you'd want to use an IP version 4, which is simply like 192.168. whatever it is. And then you just type it in here, and that's fine. That's if you're having DNS problem. Let's say your remote desktop computer is not working. Try the IP address of it, and you get it just like I showed you by pinging it. All right, I'm going to just a moment. I'm looking for specific settings here. View advanced system settings. The other reason, I don't know, is it number 3, I guess, is that remote desktop is not allowed on that computer. See this one here? This is advanced system properties on your computer. So if you just search for advanced system settings and you open it up, you can see here that allow remote assistance connection to this computer is allowed, right? And then under remote desktop, that's just one part of it, right? This may not necessarily be for using remote desktop on your computer, but it is part of it. And here's a remote desktop part of it underneath it that we know for sure will have these effects. And it says don't allow, and then there's allow remote connections to this computer. Okay? And then make sure that's checked like this. This is on the remote computer, right? Your remote computer has to have this. And then, you have to have proper credentials. You got to be allowed to do so, right? So you have to make sure that you have proper login. So here it is. Encrypted Windows long is Windows anti-challenge response. You can, whatever it's set up as, you can use your login information to log into it. So let's just close Nameware. Let's call it something simple here. Let's just show us something that anybody can pull up on their computer. Here's our remote desktop connection. If I try to connect to Kobuman, it's going to ask me for my password. And then I type in my password and then I connect. Here's what you would normally see for the first time. And then you type in login ID and password, make sure that it's correct and that you're allowed to log into it. I've talked about this in previous videos as well. Thank you for submitting this ticket. Okay, so we're going to say first thing, check below steps. I don't have to introduce myself to Alam because I already talked to him. Step 1. What did I say for the step 1? Try connecting with host name. Try connecting with IP address. Step 3, check. Oh yeah. Step 1 is make sure that computer is online. / turned on and on the network. Try connecting with, let's just do it one step. Hostname / IP address. Check remote computer to make sure it allows for RDP, remote desktop connection, remote desktop protocol, but connection in this case, I suppose. And then final step here is make sure you use Yeah, correct. Correct? I don't know. Login info that allows you to use remote desktop protocol. That's it. All right. I'm going to call it that. And that would be it for this session. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you all. Thank you to all people who became members, who joined the channel. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. If you decide to do that as well, you get early access the day before everybody else to do videos. And I want to wish a beautiful day to everybody who watched. Thank you so much for watching. And take care. Have a wonderful weekend and the next week as well. Bye-bye.